Hey guys, welcome back to Motari Media. I'm your host, Stephanie Eto, and we've got another exciting episode today. But before we get into it, do me a favor and hit the subscribe button right now. I'm gonna wait. Hit the subscribe button right now. If you're looking for a small business community and you're an immigrant, especially in Canada, this is where it's at. You don't want to miss out, so make sure you share, and you subscribe. And without further ado, let's get into today's video. Hi, guys, welcome to part two of my career journey, going from biotech to being a digital marketer now, and well, a community manager. If you haven't watched part one of this video, please go check it out. You need all the background and context in order to understand this one. It really is just more fun, to get the full story. But let's get into today's video. So, I last shared that I had moved from one biotech company to another. And at this place, I was working as a food technologist. Now, if I thought I was clueless in the first role, I was very clueless in this one. But let me tell you why they hired me. They hired me because of my physics background. So, working as a food technologist, now, mind you, this was also at a production plant, but in this case, I had like an office. Um, and I would assist food scientists with recipes for, you know, researchers or people in the food space who wanted to, create food products and sell to the public, right? And there's something called thermal processing, and apparently, this isn't something that you can just teach anybody. They really wanted someone that had that very technical and like physics background to be able to not just do it, like do the testing, but also have that scientific understanding of why it's being tested that way and being able to interpret the results as well. So that's why they hired me, guys. But you know what? I ended up feeling very out of place because at the end of the day, this food I ended up doing more food science thing than this thermal processing thing, because there weren't a lot of clients in that regard, and so it was more so food science, and I didn't like that. It felt like I was winging it. It's very important for me to be confident in the work that I'm doing, and we would have meetings on Mondays, and I would just feel like I didn't really have much to say or much to contribute. And again, this can be attributed to age. Like if I worked at those places now, the level of energy would be quite different. But you know what? We always look back and think of things that we can do better, and we implement them in what we're doing now. Right. So I just grew increasingly dissatisfied and knew that I wanted to do something that I liked. So I knew that I was really good at writing. Now, how do I make writing a career without just being like an author? Like, what can I do at writing? And I started to do my research. I paid for a course in technical writing. So technical writing is like the people who write like your manuals and stuff. There's a way that those things actually, there's a science behind, how they're written. But I wasn't able to get a job in technical writing. And also during the course, I was like, no, I'm bored. Like, I really don't like this. I think it was, let me see my date here. So like around May, okay, once I got my PR, because I got my PR 19th of May, 2022. So once I got my PR, I knew, okay, I'm secure. I can start doing what it is that I want to do. And so I started looking at careers associated to writing, and I started looking at courses associated to writing because I knew that if I wanted to make that transition, one, I didn't think I would be able to make that transition in PEI. I knew I would have to move. And secondly, I knew that I would need to take a course if I really wanted to be able to seriously get a job, right? So I started to look at courses, in writing and communications and that kind of stuff. But when I saw the courses in like writing, I was like, these are too niche. Like, I don't want to do something like a physics where I would take the course and I wouldn't be able to get a job immediately. Like, I would have to start looking for how to apply it even more. I'm like, no, I don't want something like writing that I will not have to say, oh, where can I apply it? Everybody's a writer, what industry? No. So I saw that somehow I stumbled on marketing. And I think marketing was just really becoming huge then. Um, and specifically digital marketing, because the online world was really growing. Um, and there was just like a boom in marketers in general, right? So I started to like watch videos and see, okay, what really is this thing about? Because my idea of marketing, which was also the idea my dad taught, when I told him I was going into marketing, I don't think he was really happy about it, because his idea of marketing was sales, right? So going door to door and trying to persuade people why they should buy something, and just leaving frustrated and not making money except it's commission based. So I don't blame him. Obviously, he wanted the best for me. Um, so I ended up applying to, I have my notes here, right? But I ended up applying through the Ontario Colleges program to George Brown College, which is where I ended up going to school. So I applied for, well, it's really one program, but there were two options, right? The online option or the hybrid option. And so I applied to their digital marketing media program. So that's the B423 and the B433. And this would be a 1 year certificate program. And it came with a co op, right? So you would take courses for 8 months, so 2 semesters, and your third semester would be a compulsory co op. I also applied to Conestoga for their social media marketing program, but I declined, that one, because I did end up getting accepted, but I declined it because it would start in September 2022 and I wasn't ready to move yet. I also applied to Humber College's professional writing and communications program, but that one, I once I got into George Brown, I just turned every other one down. That particular one, you need to write a letter of intent, and again, it was communications and writing, and I still didn't see any like specific, like, oh, I want to go into this specifically, right? So I obviously went with George Brown, and yes, got accepted. Let me see. I got accepted in, it wasn't long. I think I got accepted in like that same June or like July, and sent all my documentations and stuff, right? And mind you, this meant I would be moving to Toronto, which I wasn't quite sure how that was going to happen. So I started saving at that point in time at my current job. I waited till 1 month before I moved, like the required time to give my notice at work that I would be leaving. Um, and even at work, like I started to sort of look at, oh, like marketing and how marketing will help them. So before even getting into the course, I started to do my research on what marketing was, and just trying to craft a career for myself, because I knew that, again, whatever I'm choosing, I have to be sure that this is what I wanted to do. So I looked at their tuition, I spoke to my then pastor about it. And that I got into the school. And one day in church, I was praying, and God said to me that I wasn't going to pay a single cent for school. And I was like, really? I just took it, honestly. I wasn't sure how it was going to happen, but I had told my pastor then that, okay, this is what I heard. And I held it. I held it because I didn't even have the money to pay the tuition. I think the tuition was around, I would have to verify, guys, but I think it was maybe around $5,000, 5,000 and something dollars, if I'm not wrong, which is significantly lower than, being an international student. So that's how I ended up applying for marketing and going from biotech to marketing. That was like the thought process behind, what I did and getting into marketing. And so I ended up moving to Toronto in December, but I was also getting married, and my husband to be also lived in Toronto. So I had someone who helped me, with that transition. He came to PI and drove me all the way down to Toronto. He helped with the house search here in Toronto. And thankfully, we got something that was so close to school. But in the next part of this video, because I don't want this one to be too long, in the next part of this video, I'll talk about my experience in school itself and just really what digital marketing is about, how I found the experience so far, how I got my first, because I got my first internship before I even moved, guys. So I was looking for opportunities for this transition. And a friend of mine, shout out Deborah, a friend of mine sent me an opportunity for a global company. They're a company that held competitions and offered 50,000 US dollars to entrepreneurs who created solutions for their communities. And this, but mind you, this was a gig that paid 250 US dollars a month. Think about living in Toronto, think about earning 250 US dollars. Yeah, that doesn't pay for anything. So I will share more about that, how I survived moving to Toronto, how much I got my place for, where I was staying, how my experience in school was. I ended up doing a job too that I quit very quickly because I was trying to make ends meet, how I made ends meet, and how I secured my internships and my job interviews and all of that stuff. So I'll share more, about these opportunities. And if you're wondering, why am I sharing this? It's so easy to look at someone and think, you don't think about all that is behind how they are now and how they got to where they got to. Nobody's path is just straightforward. Perhaps maybe there are some people, but most people's parts, or paths rather, are up and down. There are many different things that have made up the person that you have sitting, before you today. And it wasn't an easy journey, and it's still not an easy journey. Like, I'll share with you Shiggy that they gave me in school. Jehovah. Right. But this Motari Media is also geared towards immigrants, right? And there's a lot of stories, especially being an immigrant, moving to a country that you're not familiar with, moving at such a young age, moving alone. I was the first gen, as people put it, very first, from my family moving to Canada. And I'm so grateful to my parents and for the sacrifices that they made. And I understand that, there's a lot of immigrants in Canada, especially, and I cater specifically to immigrant small business owners. And this is why, because I understand that there's a lot of things that we also don't know. There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of opportunities that don't come our way because, especially as being international, right? So coming and not having those opportunities just because you're not from the country and having to pay more and having to struggle. Um, and then on top of that, trying to run a business. Some of us start businesses and run businesses because we really want to make ends meet, yes, maybe a little bit of passion, but really money. you know um we don't really learn a lot about passion. It's just, no, like, I have people to take care of, I have people back home to care for, I have bills to pay. Yeah, talk to me about passion, I get it, but talk to me about money and opportunities, because this is real life and I have things to do and to get done, right? So that's specifically why Motari Media is geared towards immigrant small business owners. And I will share more about, getting into my small business as well. Remember, it was at a point where I did not have a job that I started to think about business. And it took a while for me to even see myself as an entrepreneur or someone who was qualified enough to start a business, right? So in starting Motari Media, I really want to be able to give people that knowledge, but really that confidence to understand that you can achieve whatever it is that you set your mind to, and just help them to see the pieces that they might be missing and make things a little easier. Really, it's just me wanting to, help and empower. And that's why I make videos like these. Hopefully, knowing that you can relate and you can benefit from learning, from my experience, and just knowing that there's someone on your side that really wants you to succeed as well. So in the next video, I'll share more about, my experience in school. And I'm quite excited for the series. I think it's going to be a long one. And it'll just be about my career journey or my journey as an immigrant as a whole. But thank you so much for watching today's video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure that you like, you share, you subscribe, and you follow me on Instagram at Motari Media. Let's chat. Let's be friends, guys. Oh my God. We've got to stick together. Let's be friends. Let's build relationships with one another. I work as a community manager right now. I really love the idea of community and supporting one another. Like, you don't have to do life alone. It's difficult doing life alone, even in Canada, right? So let's build a community with one another and build that relationship and assist one another and share the knowledge that we have. But until then, I will see you in the very next video. Thank you so much for joining in.